How's it going, guys? We are back on Dragon Ball Legends, and about a year and a half ago I did a short talking about how to improve your team building in less than a minute, but nowadays obviously things have changed and I've had lots of comments going this is outdated, etc, etc, etc. So in this video we're going to be going through everything to do with team building and how to get the most out of your characters and your team as well, so make sure not to go anywhere, and if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Before we start formulating the team then, there are a couple of things we need to take note with characters. The first being that you've trained them up so they are max level, being 5,000 out of 5,000, and that you have fully soul boosted them, given their max potential basically, for at least the amount of stars that they're on. And the next thing that we need to take note of is the tags of the characters and also their Z abilities. You can find this out by looking at show details and scrolling to the bottom. So we've got the episode, which is basically the saga or essentially movies that the characters come from, and their character tags. So the Ultra Gogeta Blue fits into the tags of Saiyan, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan, Fusion Warrior, God's Key, Fusion, and also movies as well. So like I said, you want to take note of them because that is what you'll be formulating your team around. So once you've done that, you'll have a little look at the ability tab and go into the Z abilities. So we can see with Ultra Gogeta Blue at 5 stars does boost 30% to tag Fusion Warrior or tag Saiyan base strike attack and defense during battle. So that will go for everyone on your team, and the more stars you got on your units, the bigger the increase would be on these Z abilities, and sometimes with some characters they even get additional abilities. So for example with Gogeta, he does gain plus 3% to special move damage when he's 6 stars or above. So you want to be focusing your team around those Z abilities to get the most cohesive and best out of your team, and like I said, making sure that they're fully leveled up and fully soul boosted as well. Once you've made sure that your characters are fully leveled up and fully soul boosted, and now that we know about tags and the Z abilities as well, when you are actually formulating your team, once again you need to make sure it's as cohesive as possible to get the best out of that team. So as an example on the screen, we've got a full future setup. So everyone on the team's Z abilities does boost future, boosting their base stats by whatever the Z ability may be. So for example, you've got Zamasu here, and his Z ability not only boosts God's Key and regen, but does boost future as well. So that goes for the whole team because everyone fits on the tag of future. So like I said, that is the best way to get the most out of your team, and it also feeds into the ability bonus as well. Generally, you may want to pick the 3 characters that you want to go into PvP or the events or whatever you're playing with, and then having 3 characters as your bench units, basically providing the buffs to those 3 main characters you are taking into battle. Okay, so now that we know more about the tags, the abilities, and making a more cohesive team, the next thing I want to be speaking about is Zenkai Awakened characters. And as you could probably tell from the screen, we are going to use this Rose Goku Black as our example. So we do have other videos on the channel about Zenkai Awakened if you want to know further about that. But not only do they get additional abilities they can use in battle, but they also get additional soul boost panels, which does boost their base stats. And of course with the Z ability boosting by a percentage, it does make that a lot more potent. But not only that, and the big one with Zenkai Awakened characters, when you go to show details, over to ability, and then yes, they do gain a Zenkai ability as well. It does get stronger depending on the level of Zenkai your character is, from 1 up to 7, but when you get them fully 7, they get their max Zenkai ability. And I get a lot of questions about this Zenkai ability and how to actually apply it. So it does apply to everyone on the team, but with the Zenkai abilities in comparison to the Z abilities usually being 1 tag, for these Zenkai abilities it does need to fit 2 different conditions. So for example with this Rose Goku Black, the conditions is that the character needs to be an element red and also fit the tag of powerful opponent. But as you can see, it gives 40% to strike attack, 35% to blast attack, 40% to strike defense, and 35% to splash defense as well, and that is a massive boost for your characters. So with the team that we showed a bit earlier on, the future, as you can probably notice on there, we have got 2 Zenkai Awakened characters, both being red, both boosting the Merge Zamasu in some way, shape or form, because Merge Zamasu fits powerful opponent and future as well. So Zenkai abilities are becoming more and more important when you are building your team to get, once again, the max out of that team. So just as an example of how Zenkai Awakening characters can actually improve your team, that is where Mono Purple generally came from. Not only the tag units, but also the mass amount of Zenkai abilities that you can give to one character. So for example, Ultra Gogeta Blue on this particular team is getting 1, 2, 3, 4 Zenkai abilities from the God Vegeta, the normal Saiyan Saga Vegeta, the Vegito, and also the Super Saiyan 3 Goku as well. So you're getting pretty much the Zenkai abilities, or the Zenkai stats, times 4 on him. So it does make his abilities a lot better, and it really makes him a lot stronger as well. I would say with mono teams, they're not generally the best because obviously typing and things like that, because you may come across a yellow unit with type disadvantage, but given those Zenkai abilities really does help with your team as well. So taking into account everything that we've already talked about, and assuming that you've made a very cohesive team, whether you use Zenkai ability characters or not, the next thing that you want to be looking at is the equipment that you want to be using on your characters. Mainly you probably want to be looking at the main characters you're going to be taking into the battle, but for some reason when I jump into PvP, I see it a lot where people just have not included equipment, and I honestly don't know why. So when you jump into the party formation, if you are even unsure what equipment to use, click on the relevant character you want to add equipment to, and you have a recommended section as well. Not only does it recommend the characters to use alongside, but also the equipment as well. So once again, equipment is a big thing to use. If we just jumped into this random equipment as an example, so slot 1 can give up to 10% for special move damage and ultimate damage, and then slot 2 can give up to 12% to strike attack and defense, and once again slot 3 12% to blast attack and blast defense. So not only, especially if you've got a Zenkai Awakened character, not only are you taking into account the Z abilities, the Zenkai abilities and all that sort of stuff, these equipment just make that character even stronger as well. Granted, equipment does differ depending on which one it is and which character it's assigned to and all that sort of stuff as well, but if you're not sure, I do have a video, I believe, on the channel about equipment and things like that. Just have a little look at that to see what's the best equipment to be using. But like I said, I highly recommend that you include equipment onto your characters, especially your main characters, because bearing in mind the equipment that you attach only is in reference to the character it is attached to. So it won't go to the rest of the team, but that's why you make sure that your whole team has equipment, essentially. It's not all that relevant for the bench units, but like I said, your main characters 100% include that equipment. So the last main point that I want to include then is the leader slot, and this is something that's still relatively new, I guess. It's been around for maybe about a year, something like that, and the leader slot is very important to mix up teams and to include lots of different characters into your teams as well. So essentially the leader slot is always the first one here, and you can pretty much include any character that you want. So if we took, for example, this Android 21, granted we've got a future team, so everyone fits onto future and boosts future, and we look at the Z ability here. Android 21 only boosts androids and regen, so not everyone on our team fits those criteria or those tags, but with the leader slot we can actually include Android 21, and as long as we take her into the battle, not only will Android 21 give her Z abilities to the whole team, but she will also get the Z abilities of the whole team as well. It doesn't quite go for Zenkai abilities, so bear that in mind, it's only for Z abilities, but like I said, with this leader slot it does mean that you can pretty much include any character that you want into this slot, and as long as they go into battle once again, then they will get the full benefits of all the team. Like I said, you want to make sure that you add the equipment as well, but this leader slot is a big change once again to mix up teams and things like that as well. I just wanted to show you this team as an example because we've got quite a lot of what we've talked about in this video involved in this team. So we've got Beast Gohan in the leader slot, and even though it's a full God Key team except for Super Vegito at the end there, essentially as long as I take Beast Gohan into the fight, he will get the Z abilities of everyone else on the team as well. And with this team, the main characters I was taking in was the Evo Vegeta, the Rose Goku Black, and the Beast Gohan. So that's why you've got Super Vegito on the bench there, because I'm not taking him in. It doesn't matter about him not getting Z abilities, but I've included him because he does give that Zenkai buff then to the Rose Goku Black, who I am taking into the battle. So it does make that Rose Goku Black a lot better, and I think it is worth it. But essentially, like I mentioned earlier, your aim is to make the most cohesive team where everyone gets Z abilities and the buffs from those Z abilities as well. The last thing that I'll leave you with then is the power level is made up of all the power level of all the characters on your team. If you're unsure of how to find out the power level of the individual character, just go on the status and it is there in the scouter as well, and that is the total power level, including health, strike attack, blast attack, and all that sort of good stuff as well. And the ability bonus is made up of mainly the equipment, any Zenkai abilities you've got, and the Z abilities and things like that as well. So generally, the higher ability bonus that you've got, the better your characters will perform. So like I said, that's what I'll leave you with. If you learned something throughout this video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, even if you didn't, to be fair. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you later. Ciao.